Good afternoon, everyone. This is Patrick over at BC Solutions. Welcome to another interview of the ABCs of digital marketing. Today, we're sitting with EJ Bowen. EJ Bowen is the CEO and co-founder of OmniLegion Technologies. How are you today, EJ?
I'm great, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Before we get started, can you tell us what OmniLegion Technologies is?
Yeah, for sure. So OmniLegion Technologies, we're a technology services company, and we're focused on improving customer experience through what's called omni-channel strategy. We're an Amazon Web Services partner, and we help companies achieve outcomes through intelligent technology solutions, where we're built specifically around AWS's contact center solution called Amazon Connect.
That's very impressive. Now, I just want to forewarn our audience. Being prepared for today's interview with EJ, I actually wrote some questions down. I wanted to make sure that I covered them properly. So if I look down, please understand that EJ, I'm just kind of not remembering all the questions because they were so interesting. I wanted to write them down. My next question to you is, EJ, let me ask you this. What is contact center as a service, more commonly known as a CCaaS?
It's called CCaaS.
CCaaS.
Yes, CCaaS. No, and that's totally okay. So CCaaS is a cloud contact center technology, and it's built specifically using the cloud. I mean, really. And so when you purchase a CCaaS solution, you're typically buying licenses, and you're paying for a usage-based model. And so it enables multi-channel or omni-channel type communication via the cloud. And if you're going to compare it to like a UCaaS or a unified communication solution, UCaaS would be your phones inside of your company. CCaaS is your phones that are communicating with your customer. So if you're communicating as a outbound sales, it would be that outbound calls, or inbound, which would be like service bound, customer services when people are calling in. So just a few things that would be included in like a CCaaS solution. It's be like call recording, skills-based routing, customer authentication, AI-powered analytics. It's those kinds of things. It's your base technology for communicating with your consumer.
Interesting. And you mentioned something, and that was my next question that I wanted to ask you. Why are so many companies moving to a cloud contact solutions?
Yeah, cloud contact centers have really made a big splash in the last few years. If you grew up in the contact center space, you probably worked a lot with the legacy type on-prem solutions. So like Cisco, Avaya, Genesys. There's some pretty big challenges with those types of solutions. They're typically really large. They have a lot of IT infrastructure. They're expensive to install. You have to purchase licensing. You have to purchase maintenance agreements. You have to do upgrades. And typically you have an IT team that's actually working in managing those solutions. And until a few years ago, that was really the way to go if you could afford it, because they were reliable. The phones worked really well. You could just trust them. Now, that being said, it's really changed over the last few years where the cloud has really caught up. And that's really due to like AWS and everything that Amazon Web Services has been doing, because now their voice over IP phone systems are really rivaling everything. And so the new CCaaS solutions, these cloud type solutions, are even winning large enterprise deals out in the marketplace because they can afford them. They don't have to manage them as much. They don't have to have big teams out there doing it. And now imagine if you don't have to do upgrades to get the newest and latest and greatest from the solutions out in the marketplace. So if they have an update of their software, you get it immediately versus having to pay for an expensive upgrade.
That's an excellent answer. I'm impressed. I really am. I have to tell you, working with you and working with your company, I've learned more than I would ever have expected. And every time we have a conversation, it gives me new insight of why we should be in the cloud.
Absolutely. The cloud is the future. I mean, if you're not in the cloud today, you're in trouble. So well, it's where things are going.
Let me ask you this then, and I wrote this down, and I'll call it the CCaaS, as you said. With the CCaaS solutions gaining so much popularity, why are so many people choosing a customizable solution like Amazon Connect?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because Amazon Connect is one of the newer solutions. They've actually they've been in the marketplace for about 3 years now, a little over 3 years. But before that, Amazon was using them for their retail business for probably, it's almost coming up on 14 years. And the Amazon Connect solution is customizable, and it's really making a massive splash in the marketplace because it solves a lot of those issues that those legacy solutions had. You know, so it's easily scalable, it's inexpensive. You can you can work with anybody. You can build the solution the way you want to and do it, and you can do it with same features and functionalities at a fraction of the cost of all of those legacy type solutions. So up to, you know, an 80% type of savings on those solutions, which seems kind of crazy, but it's a reality when you're dealing with their pricing model. And just a few kind of feature functionality things of why people are doing this is when they were building it 14 years ago, they wanted to make sure it was every interaction was personalized. So they knew who customers were when they were coming in. They wanted them contextual so that they knew why they potentially were calling so that they could service them better. They use their Amazon Alexa platform. It's called Amazon Lex for their intelligence. So AI, natural language processing or understanding, and automation. And now that's what we've come to expect these days, where it's just, we can talk to a machine and it feels like a human. And that's what they've built in their platforms. And then they make it so that they're elastic. So you can add in agents anytime, and then they're programmable so that you can then connect to any system that has an open API. So your CRMs, ITSMs, it's really easy to connect in and make it work for your process. One piece that's really interesting, at least lately too, is their machine learning platforms. They launched a product called Contact Lens in the last few months that does deep machine learning, and it gets into sentiment analysis and expert systems. So it's to where you're really taking the next step and making the machine help the person be more intelligent. So a few things that really push people over the edge too when they're doing when they're deciding on a CCaaS type solution. And Amazon is the one they end up going with. It's a pay-as-you-go model, so you don't have to buy licenses. There's no commitments. You can turn it on and off whenever you want. So a lot of people are actually even considering this for like a disaster recovery. Automatic scaling, which is awesome because you don't have to buy a license. That means you can pull in agents as you need them or push them out as you need them. And then there's no hardware or software required. And if you think about it, with Amazon owning the market in the cloud space, I mean, they have the majority of the market in the cloud, but they also are the #1 customer experience company in the world. You're future-proofed because where they go, everyone's going to follow. And they're the ones that are building the technology to make it all work.
I got to tell you something. I mean, I wanted to ask this question, and I'm going to I wrote it, I'm going to re-articulate it, but you mentioned that you could save up to 80% when you deploy Amazon Connect. Compared to their competition, I mean, let me ask you this question. Some may contest that that's not possible. Can you maybe tell me a little bit of how you could validate these savings?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, and if you're a competitor, you probably are contesting that every day, saying there's no way they can do that. It's just it's too cheap. You can't make that happen. And for that very reason, Amazon went out and they hired Forrester to do an independent study to look at the TCO analysis, do a TCO analysis based on just several customers. And they went out and they got 6 customers that were on Amazon Connect. And they actually found that this was really true. And here, I'll read off a couple things here too. So watch me read a little bit here too. So
we're getting old. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Can't remember everything. So they reduced contact center costs. They deflected and streamlined calls. They improved visibility. They simplified management, and they boosted customer experience while providing dependability and agility at scale. And this is coming straight out of their report. So you can look this report up and download it and read all of the details. I think it's like 30 or 40 pages. And when they added all information, looked at the actual TCO and ROI, the average was a 31% savings off of their legacy solution. And over the 3 years, they say they had a 241% ROI, which is crazy. I mean, it's proven. It's been documented by a researcher. I mean, so you can choose what to believe. I mean, believe what you want to believe. But at the end of the day, we do a lot of TCOs for companies, and it always comes in significantly cheaper. It's not 80%. That's an outlier, but 30 to 50% is pretty.
Those are still fabulous numbers if you think about it. I mean, and I was listening to everything that you're explaining, and how could someone not want to do something like this? They're not storing all the equipment. They're not having to facilitate all the employees to handle it. And like you said, any updates, any changes, any repairs are all in someone else's hands and not their hands. That's fabulous. But I have to ask you this before you say something. You mentioned machine learning. And what I'm very interested in is how is Amazon handling that inside their contact centers now?
Yeah, and I mentioned a little bit here, because Amazon, they have over, I think at the moment it's 170, 180 different solutions inside of their their cloud space. I mean, that's really what they do. They build services that you can draw upon. And machine learning is one of those that they're really starting to push on right now.
Sure.
So think about it in the contact center space. So you could do something like Amazon Transcribe, where you're transcribing our conversation. So if you think about our conversation right now, think about it being put into text and stored as text. And then with that text, you can run Amazon Comprehend over the top of it and understand the sentiment of the conversation. So in our conversation, it would be a positive sentiment because we're not yelling at each other. We're not, saying bad things. It's a positive conversation. And then you can take that information on top of that sentiment and run expert systems and basically look at it as, this is your next best action, or this is what you should say next, or this is what we've trained the system to do. The one solution that you could look at today that does all of these things, in what I expect contact centers to do in the near future for sure, is it's called Service Cloud Voice, and it's a product that's been put out as a joint venture between Salesforce and Amazon Connect. And basically Salesforce is your front end where everybody logs in, and Amazon ends up being the back end, which is all the intelligence and that heavy contact center technology to make it work.
Wow. I have to ask you, with the impact of COVID, I know that it's affected companies across the board. I'm seeing so many more virtual offices that are coming in. People are creating that virtual office concept. What are you seeing these days?
You're spot on. COVID has basically changed our world. It's made it so the social distancing, we can't really be around each other as much, and it's made it so virtual workspaces are necessary. It's the work from anywhere type of trend. And until now, it's worked pretty well. From a functional perspective, we know that anyone can work from anywhere, because you can tie into the cloud and make everything work. But when the global pandemic moves on, hopefully we get out of this, what's it going to look like at that point? And so we know that the virtual agent works. So it's probably here to stay. We don't think it's going away. That doesn't mean everyone's going to be virtual, but a percentage of the agents are going to be virtual. So the question you got to ask yourself is, how are you going to manage that virtual team when you need them to do specific things and be secure when you can't look over their shoulder, right? And so you look at it like, what's cybersecurity look like? How do you protect PHI, PCI, all of the risks inside of a contact center when they're in their own home or they're sitting in a coffee shop, for that matter.
Sure.
So this is where a new concept called workspace monitoring comes in. Because if you think about it, something like this becomes more relevant if you can't look over their shoulder. They're used to their manager walking by and making sure they're working. Now, how do you mitigate the risk when they're not being watched, or how do you watch them, right? And so, what's an employee going to do? Are they going to start writing credit card numbers down because they're in their home office? Are they going to take pictures of their screens? Is your data, your PHI safe? PCI.
Exactly.
It's scary, right? It's super scary, right? So, the real answer is we just don't know unless somebody's watching. I mean, you think you hire good people and they're going to do the right thing, but you just don't know.
Sure.
And so you have to have a solution in place that monitors this so that they have the perception of somebody watching, so that they're kept honest. Like they stay within the bounds of their job, right? And that's where video monitoring solutions that watch their keyboard, their screens, the person in the room, so that they know exactly what's going on, are going to be incredibly important going forward, so we can protect ourselves, protect our companies, protect our customers with all of that information, because we're not going to be watching everybody.
No, you're right. And that actually leads into one of my closing questions, or one of my last questions. In the world of uncertainty that we live in these days, and we're talking about that through our conversation, why would a company, and if it's a loaded question, please, I ask it, but why would a company leverage OmniLegion? What would they be getting from it?
And that's a very fair question, because there's a ton of people that can go out and deploy solutions,
Sure.
right? Um, and that's where we feel like we really differentiate ourselves. We're not just a systems integrator of Amazon Connect or any other, contact center solution. We are a team of engineers that has been in the market, in the industry for decades, and knows this stuff. You're not just getting someone off the street that learns how to do call flows and is deploying them tomorrow. And so we know how to design, deploy, manage, fix these contact centers with people that have been doing it in the industry for a long time. We also have a strong relationship with Amazon. Anytime we're doing a solution, we work with them directly, make sure everything gets done right. We get things evaluated. We use their best practices so that things get done right, okay? And then we work with our customers' teams, and make sure that we're deploying what they need so that the solution is right. Amazon is a customizable solution, so we need to make sure all of the services that they're using are the ones that they need and are right, and they get deployed correctly. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to, do you want somebody that really knows what they're doing in this space, or that are customer experience and contact center experts? That's what we are. So we just make sure that we don't make any mistakes, because we've been here, done that for a long time.
I'm beyond impressed with our conversation today, and Be Seen Solutions literally loves to work with you guys. I could tell you that the staff that we've employed to work with you, for you, and your team, they walk away from every conversation a little bit smarter than when the conversation started. I want to thank you today for taking the time to speak with me and educate the world on what you do. And before we close it out, very quickly, how can they find you? What's the way for them to reach out and talk to you and speak with you and kind of some of your case
You can
studies?
find us on OmniLegion.com as our website. That's our URL. You can also call me directly. I mean, you can have you can call me on my cell.
Are you on LinkedIn? Or your cell phone's on?
We are on LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn. We have OmniLegion as our LinkedIn page. You can reach out to us directly. Our sales email address, sales@omnilegion.com, is really an easy one. That'll get to me and the team no matter what. But yeah, well, we're here. We're very responsive. Anything something comes in, we get to it. We do also have a forms page that you can come in and request specific information using our website.
Awesome. I thank you on this Friday. I thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Everyone that's out there, please reach out to EJ Bowen. Look him up on LinkedIn. Go to his website. I give you my word. Speaking with him, you'll become a better person at the end of the conversation. EJ, thank you again for your time, and thank you for being a partner with Be Seen Solutions.